I would like to have a live Rumble, Alan, and this didn't come to me until now. I think sustainability is the most important because I think that's where everybody starts.
But my point is that not at the expense of consistency. So consistency, sustainability, improvement, those three words, if you really take them to heart, that's really what I'm trying to do with my clients.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 1139, The Upside of Down Times. Today, for episode number 1140, happy Sunday, the three most important words for success. So imagine if you're somebody who you've been focused on achieving more and becoming quote unquote successful, whatever your own unique version of success means to you, imagine if you had checkpoints where you could say, hey, am I practicing this? Am I practicing this? And am I practicing this? There's a lot of ways to be quote unquote successful. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of podcasts, but what if you could break it down to its simplest form? That is our goal today.
So this is one of my favorite topics ever of all time, as we say.
Ever of all time.
Because I think it's drastically misunderstood. And I think all of us could achieve the life of our dreams, at least to a greater extent, if we really understood these three things. And so the first one is consistency. And I think that we'll dive into that and how most of us do not understand the math behind consistency. I was with Emilia this weekend and we were doing some math on the whiteboard. We have this big whiteboard in the center of our home. And she was like, you're about to change my identity forever. And we were talking about consistency. We're going to get into that. It's very early, by the way. And I apologize that my voice is, I sound like I just woke up.
Bring the energy, son. Bring the energy.
So the second word, no, I think that I'm also trying not to be too loud because Emilia is still sleeping. And I don't want Tucker to wake her up.
The beast.
But anyways, okay. So it's going to be one of those monotone whisper episodes. Now, the second word is sustainability long-term, which is basically because you can't have the first one without the second one. And then the third one is just improvement, consistent incremental improvement. So first word, consistency. Second word, sustainability. Third word, improvement. Those three together in one area will create a lot of success eventually. Eventually is the key word. So consistency. I was talking to Emilia this past weekend. And at NLU, we keep showing this domino video. I did a team training. I do team trainings every month with the NLU team. And I showed this video of dominoes. And so a domino, I've been talking a lot about it on this podcast. A domino can knock down another domino that's 1.5 times its size. And in this domino video, I think there's 20 dominoes, I think. And so Emilia and I had this mini rumble discussion about those three words. And she's like, I agree with all three of those words, 100%. But I said, yeah, but I can tell that we have a difference in terms of syntax, in terms of which one's most important. And I think it's because I have a deeper understanding of the math. And she's like, yeah, that's true. I said, which word is most important? Consistency, sustainability, or improvement? And she said improvement. And I was like, okay, so that's okay. I totally understand that. That's why sometimes I'll put consistency first and she'll put improvement first. And the reason this came up, by the way, is because for her birthday, I got us both Oura rings. And she, when they came in the mail, she wanted to set them up, like take time during the day to set them up right away. But she didn't want to because they were gifts. She wanted to do it together. But I didn't want to like interrupt any of my day that was set up. And I didn't want to not knock down any dominoes because of the Oura ring. That doesn't make any sense to me. So we ended up crunching the math. And here's what we did, and I'll keep it very high level here. And I did this with Kevin the other day too. So we imagine one person in any endeavor. This can be fitness, this can be relationship, this can be health, wealth, or love. Any endeavor. The first person is consistent 20 out of 20 days. Okay, so 20 dominoes, they are consistent, and they do 20 days in a row of whatever it is. The second person is consistent only 17 out of every 20 days. And we crunched the numbers, and we found out that across a decade, and Kevin and I did the math on this, if I do 20 out of 20 days of something, and he does 17 out of every 20 days, which means there's 54 days of the year that he misses. And we'll use this podcast as an example because obviously we're podcasters. So let's say I have a podcast and Kevin has a podcast. Let's say we're equal in terms of podcast skills. We're equal in terms of marketing. We're equal in terms of brand and budget. Everything is equal except for consistency, sustainability, and improvement. Okay. And in this case, everything's equal except for consistency. So I do 20 episodes I do an episode a day. So 20 out of 20. Kevin does 17 episodes every 20 days. If everything else is equal, which it never is, by the way, in the real world, but just in this math equation, in a decade, I will have 620 times the results, is what the math comes out to. So let's say he had 1 million listens, I would have 620 million listens. And so, if he had 10 million listens, I would have 6.2 billion listens, right? Now, again, there's a lot of nuances to this because obviously not everything's equal. Kevin's a different podcaster than I am. He looks different than I do. He markets different than I do. He thinks different than I do. But that's why consistency is so key. And this is also presupposing in the dominoes, that the domino video that we typically show, and we can put it in the show notes, by the way, is in the context of that. But the point here is that consistency, in my opinion, is the most drastically underestimated aspect of success. If people knew how important that was, they wouldn't have such a hard time with it. It doesn't mean it's easy. Just because we understand that consistency is the most important thing does not mean consistency becomes easy, but it definitely becomes easier because we prioritize it. And so in this analogy, let's say the Oura Rings come and Kevin and I are supposed to record. I'm going to wait to do the Oura Ring stuff until after we record. Whereas someone who doesn't understand the math might actually go do the Oura Rings first because that's going to help their sleep and that's going to help, and she has a good point. It has made everything better. I have it on. I checked my sleep score. It's 84 as of last night, which is great. It is going to improve everything. My whole life got better ever since I got this Oura Ring. And no, I'm not getting paid by Oura Ring. But my point is that not at the expense of consistency. So consistency, sustainability, improvement, those three words, if you really take them to heart, that's really what I'm trying to do with my clients. I was with a client recently who was considering my coaching, and she was like, why, why should I do it? And I said, honestly, I used to be bashful about this. I'm not anymore because I have so much proof now. Honestly, I also used to not want to say this, but now I'm going to say it. From my perspective, given the current awareness of you and your life, I don't think you will be consistent without my coaching. I just don't think you're naturally inclined to be super consistent. And I honestly don't think you've ever been super consistent from my perspective. I'm sorry if that seems unkind. Now, honestly, why should you coach with me? I'm going to be someone who will help you engineer a life where you can actually be consistent. And that's it. I mean, there's going to be other stuff too. I'm going to help you sustain it. I'm going to help you improve it. But at the end of the day, that's really why. You might as well sign up for my coaching and say, okay, cool. This is consistency coaching. And then I get to improve along the way. Very last thing I know, $1 in the jar.
$1 in the jar.
The other piece of this too is we have peak performance tracking, and I talk about this a lot, and this is to provide this context, not to just be a huge plug for my coaching. But what I say to my clients is this. We jump on the phone every week, every other week, or every month. I have weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly. And it's so cool because the question I always ask, my clients are so annoyed by this. Even the NLU team is so annoyed by this. Every time. I'm looking at their system, I'm screen sharing on Zoom, and I say, if you had to improve this system by 1%, what would you change? I was on the phone with Jenna, Zoom with Jenna last night, and she was like, I knew you were going to ask that. Because the first question was, what do you want to change in your system? How's your system going? She's like, oh my God, amazing. 10 out of 10. And I was like, We pull it up, and I'm like, if you had to improve it by 1%, what would you change? And she came up with something. She's listening to NLU instead of 10 minutes of book, I think. And Tucker is barking, so if you can hear that, I apologize. But there's always something you can tweak. There's always something you can improve, no matter how small. And my point here is, not only are you going to be consistent, but you're also going to be able to sustain it finally, and you're going to improve the improvements. Because not only can you improve the system, but you also improve executing against the system. So not only do you get better at the system day by day, because it gets easier and easier and easier, it becomes more and more routine, but then every time we jump on the phone, we're also going to improve the system. So you're actually compounding the compounding, which is why it's so powerful, I think. In the short term, you won't notice anything different. In the long term, it'll be wild. And the people who've been with me the longest, it really is very clear. And so this is not a plug for my coaching. What this is a plug for is consistency, sustainability, and improvements over time.
I was on a podcast last night, Alan, and I did the splits analogy. I talked to, one of the questions was, why is consistency so important? And if you know me, Alan and I are drastically different. I understand the numbers, but I don't understand the numbers enough to be able to like riff off of them and say like, okay, if you do 1%, 365, you're 37 times better because it's 1 to the 365th power. It's like, I can't do that. I understand now, but if somebody said, can you explain it? It's like, no, it's in a book.
1.01.
1.01. Yeah. See, there you go. I'm already wrong. But
yeah.
this was my way of framing it for Courtney. Her name was Courtney. I said, Courtney, consistency is important for this simple reason. If you and I want to do the splits by this time next year, think about it. If I do it every day, I'm going to practice 365 times. If you do it once a week, you're going to practice 52 times. I'm going to practice 7 times more than you. Simple. I will get the results most likely 7 times faster. I will learn at least 7 times more. And just simple. I know, I understand.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
But from the frame of but from the frame of just top layer, I'm doing 7 times minimum. I'll say that. I'm doing 7 times minimum more than you're doing. That's why consistency is so important. I would like to have a live Rumble, Alan, and this didn't come to me until now. I think sustainability is the most important because I think that's where everybody starts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because you won't be consistent unless it's sustainable.
I think it's sustainability, consistency, and then improvement.
It's interesting. It's hard for me.
Yeah.
Syntax is a big thing for me. So I do 1, 2, 3. First is consistency, second is sustainability, third is long incremental improvement. But I could say that I could see your argument genuinely. Now, here's the other thing. The example that I like to give for sustainability is I have a lot of people finally consistent at exercising. And what I'm doing is actually in this book, Switch, there's 2 different chapters that I didn't realize I was doing this until I was reading this book in book club. And I was like, oh, I do that all the time. So this chapter is shrink the change is one of the chapters. In other words, make it smaller so you can actually do it. If you think you're going to write for 3 hours a day, it's not going to happen unless you're J.K. Rowling and you're like alone in a hotel room or something, like locking yourself away. She literally locked herself away for, I think, 2 weeks in a hotel without allowing anyone to interrupt her to finish the last book. And if J.K. Rowling struggles to write consistently, you better believe you're gonna. You know what I mean? So, and trust me, it's really difficult. But I'm doing 3 paragraphs a day. Shrink the change. And then the second one is grow your people. And what it means is you have to take pride in it. People think ego and pride is bad, and it is if it's done wrong and if it's done without action, because then it's just illusion. But Kevin and I have pride that we've done 1,140 episodes as of today without missing. That is pride. That to the point where I literally did a marathon so we wouldn't miss. For new listeners, there's a whole story behind that. I'm not going to get into it. My point is, you have to choose something you can sustain, because when it comes to fitness, and it goes deeper too than just being consistent. I have right now, many of my clients send me accountability pictures for fitness. And I said, the key here is that you're going to have high self-esteem. If you can finally be consistent in the one area that you always struggled to be consistent, you're going to stack self-esteem. Set a promise, keep a promise. Set a promise, keep a promise. Set a promise, keep a promise. And to your point, Kev, and this is what I would say, if you can't sustain it, it's actually going to hurt your self-esteem.
Yeah.
So if you set yourself up for failure, that's actually really detrimental. I think the reason why I don't maybe feel that way is only because I think usually that triggers me to be better. Like whenever I let myself down, usually I just try harder or like something. I change something.
But I think starting's the hardest. I think
yeah.
for the vast majority, myself included, the vast majority of people, starting is the hardest. It's just the hardest thing. Like, think of it this way.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
And this is why I think sustainability is such an important thing. If you're somebody who it's, okay, I want to be the type of person who is an athlete and I work on my body daily. Awesome. The worst thing you can do is sign up for a gym that's 45 minutes away from your house and it's only open from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon because it's not sustainable for you to get there every day and do it. So I think that's where it comes in that's why the 30-minute, the walk with Tucker and Emilia is huge because it's honestly, some days you're not gonna be able to get to the gym. It's not 100%. Sustainable on some days. And I think that's an important facet for you if you're out there because, and this is the other interesting thing. When you're starting something, you're probably thinking, but if I read one paragraph a day, that's not that much. No, maybe not in the beginning, it's not. But if you can get the sustainability down, then you can be consistent over the course of a year, and then you can find out how to improve that one paragraph to 2 to 4 to 8 to whatever, a chapter. That's when things really start to pick up.
And to Kev's point too, I'm sharing this not to brag, I'm sharing this because it's important because I try to live what we talk about. And so I'm 238 days in a row of 30 minutes of exercise as of this recording. And I know everyone's been hearing about that. It's probably annoying at this point, I know. But here's the thing. I want to share this vulnerably and honestly. I could never do that without many things in place, okay? I could never do that if I didn't have a gym in my basement, okay? I walk Tucker in a neighborhood that it's safe to walk, okay? And I have a gym that's literally 1.5 minutes away. And it's 24-hour anytime fitness. And it's always open no matter what holiday, no matter what. And even when my car breaks down, I can actually run there. So I'm set up for success, and I want to make that point. There's no way I could exercise every day if I chose 3 hours. No chance. I can't even barely do it with a half an hour, honestly. Okay? We walk in the gym. We did this last night, chest day, push day. And we said it. I said, hey, S-I-R-I. I'm not going to say it because I don't want my phone to go off. Hey, S-I-R-I. Set a timer for 30 minutes. And then when it goes off, I have to force myself to stop. I'm in the middle of a set. I was doing dips, assisted dips. Judge me if you'd like. Yeah, exactly. Kev's judging me. I'm joking.
I can't
and then
judge
I had
you.
one more.
I haven't been to the gym in 4 days, so I'm not judging.
Yes, there's no judgment there. And I did overhead. I was doing overhead press unilateral with kettlebells, actually. And so I finished my last set. That's my rule. I finish my last sets, and then I leave. We cannot go later because if I did an hour, I'm telling you, there's no chance I'd be able to sustain this. Yeah. So I have to discipline myself to get there, but I also have to discipline myself to leave after the half hour because otherwise I will. That's one of the reasons why I'm so exhausted right now. If you're on YouTube, I look like I'm half asleep. It's because I got a really good workout in last night, and last week was really challenging, and yesterday was a long day. And so sustainability is critical. If it's too big, you have to shrink it. If it's too small, you have to grow it because it might be one of those things where it's like, well, that's not worth my time. So you have to constantly adjust. That's why, the PPT is constantly molding to the individual. I remember Kev started with 5 habits, and then eventually it was 8, and then eventually it was 10, and, now it's 25 or whatever. I don't know. But if we started with 25, no possibility. No. Not even possible, right? Just like the splits. If you try to do the splits right now, it's impossible. I definitely can't do it.
No, same.
right? But if we did it in 2 years and we were consistent, we could definitely do it. And I know that. But it just takes consistency, sustainability, and I think the other piece, you got to trust the improvements will come. Obviously, when you're in the gym, try to get better. But like, I think human beings, and maybe this is just a me thing, are naturally improvement oriented. I think we tend to get better at the stuff we do. It's not like you're going to cook every day for a year and then still suck at it. I don't think. You know?
I think that's probably more you than you realize.
Really?
I think you're just very... I mean, if you're watching or listening, I'm not saying you are, but I would say the average desire to improve is probably less than you think.
Fair.
I would say.
Okay.
Because more people would be really good at stuff.
I just don't think people are consistent.
Well, I mean, even if you think about like somebody's job. Like you and I have gone to places and it's like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this is like the state of this company or this business.
You remember the, what was it?
The valet in Florida?
The valet that we had to go into the booth to get like our own keys. Yeah, that was brutal.
But again, in fairness, that person probably doesn't like what they're doing. So it's very hard to get good at something you don't enjoy. So that's part of it too. But yeah, I would say
it's hard to be consistent at something you don't enjoy too.
It's very,
But you can. Yeah.
You can, but it's definitely a challenge. I think of it that way of, okay, sustainable. We have to make sure that the plane can fly. We have to make sure that the plane can fly a long enough distance to get us where we're going. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Once we figure out how to get the plane to fly at that distance, we have to consistently fly that route over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then we improve the quality. Then it's like, okay, let's put new seats in. All right, let's get this TV in. Let's make sure it's as safe as it can be. Let's start charging tickets, whatever it is. I really think if you're out there, that is the frame for you. If you're not doing something, my guess is it most likely does not seem sustainable to you. That would be my guess, because I've seen that time and time again. One of the reasons people come to me when they want to start podcasts is because they say, well, I know it's not sustainable for me to do by myself. I know. That's why most people fail. Yep. And they come, and it's not a coincidence that, bless you. It's not a coincidence that...
Anticipatory, bless you.
I had a call yesterday with one of our clients. He started with us like 2.5 years ago. He's 330 episodes in.
Yeah.
There's no way he'd be 330 episodes in if he was doing it himself.
Yeah.
Right? It's not sustainable for most people to do 3 episodes a week. It's just not.
100%.
So yeah, it's such an important thing. But ask yourself that. Am I not starting this thing because the sustainability isn't there? Am I not making progress in this thing that I've started because the consistency isn't there? Am I not making as much progress as I think I should be making, even though the sustainability and consistency are there, because I'm not actually improving consciously? I think that's a good little framework to run.
These 3 words go together. They're not powerful without each other. Because you can't be consistent. If you're consistent for a week, it doesn't matter. If you're consistent for a year, it'll change your life. So consistency without sustainability doesn't really matter that much. Consistency and sustainability without any improvement, just staying the exact same, also doesn't matter that much. Yeah. So it's really these 3 together will unlock your true power. No, but like it really is these 3 together, and they all are required. But they definitely have. If you can't be consistent and sustainable, you're never going to improve consistently and sustainably. And if you look at episode, let's say I posted this photo recently of me and you. In one of the early episodes with these terrible microphones across the table eating Chick-fil-A at your old apartment.
Big fan.
Yeah, right. It was a good time. But everything was terrible. It was not good. Like it wasn't. And now if you were to look at this episode, watch this episode on YouTube, and then you were to go back and somehow find that one, I don't even think it's there anymore. Maybe it is. I don't think it's on YouTube. But if you were to go back, you'd be like, oh, wow. Like, oh, my God, that's not even close. It's like, yeah, but that's because there's 1,000 episodes in between where we were, like, trying to improve. So, Kevin's backdrop. I remember when we didn't have these backdrops. I remember we didn't have these cameras. I remember when we didn't have these microphones. I have another podcast, Conscious Couples Podcast, and we don't have as good of microphones, and I don't like it. I don't like those old ones. They're not as good. It sucks. I want these new ones.
I like those.
I don't like them as much as this, but... I love this one the best. It's so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much better. Even when I listen to our episode versus these ones, I can tell the difference. But early on, you don't notice any of that stuff. Yeah. You have to trust that the consistency and sustainability will bring the improvements, but you do need all 3. So that's my point, is you need all 3. And in one area, if you reverse engineer anyone's success, you can find those 3 words in that area. And that's my claim. If anyone finds an alternative, that means they won the lottery or got very lucky.
Next Level Nation, I woke up to a wonderful email today. Somebody emailed me and said, hey, Kevin, I am interested in signing up for group coaching. What do I have to do to get my spot locked? I emailed that person back and I walked them through the steps. So they are already getting ready to make 2023 the best year of their life. It's not till January 3rd where Group 9 is opening, but this person is already trying to make sure that their spot is locked. If you are interested in group coaching, please, please, please look into it and check out the link in the show notes. Alan and I are very focused on honestly very few things, but one of those things is helping as many people as possible. And I have worked with hundreds of people at this point, and I can promise you that this group coaching is the most valuable thing you're going to get, especially for the price point. Our goal at NLU is to have a spot for everybody, no matter where they are in their self-improvement set point and wherever they are in their financial set point. That's our goal. Wherever you are in your self-improvement set point and financial set point, there is a place for you in our business. Please join group coaching if you're interested.
As you know, Kevin and I grew up in households of single parents. We both didn't have fathers. My father passed away when I was 2. Kevin didn't have his father with him. He was raised by 2 women. I was raised by 2 women, his mom and Memes, and my mom and my older sister. So we created something called the Next Level Hope Foundation, where we are trying to contribute to kids, children of single parents. And so we have 2 events a year. One is on Father's Day, for obvious reasons, and then the other one is a holiday event on December 18th of this year. It's coming up. I think it's 53 days away. The landing page, thank you, Alessandro, is fully complete. You can donate from that page or you can attend. If you know of anyone who would be interested in attending, please send them to that landing page. The link will be in the show notes. And if you do want to contribute, Kevin and I and NLU really are matching $500. So when we hit our goal, every dollar that you donate up to $500, we will match. And so if you donate $10, it'll actually be $20. If you donate $30, it'll actually be $60, that kind of thing. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to have kids come. We're going to have gifts. We chose 5 gifts for the kids, and the parents RSVP, and they say what gift they want for which child, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good time.
It's really the only opportunity I have to win at basketball, so I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it because most of the children are, honestly, who knows? These kids are growing up so darn fast. They're just as tall as I am. Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1141. One simple way to start shifting your identity. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I know Alan was sleeping and it was early for us, but this was a good one. I'm glad we did this one because success, quote unquote, can be very confusing. It can seem overwhelming. It can seem very challenging. If you can focus on those 3 words, I think you will be way more successful. As always, we love you, appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.